Hey everyone, it's Matt from Train Sim Society, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. So today in this video, I'll be sharing my thoughts on the Dovetail preview stream for the upcoming US route MBTA Commuter, that is Boston to Framingham/Worcester. I did tune in, took a lot of notes while I was watching, and I'm ready to dive into what's looking good, what's falling short, and everything in between. So let's get started. So the first service that Matt played through, which he was joined by Harry on stream, was the HSP46 daytime service. Now I have this divided up into different sections because there was another service that we explored at night. There was a conductor mode service as well, some freight switching, and the CTC cab car night service. So starting with the HSP46 daytime service, I think the scenery is honestly solid. There's a ton of detail on the trackside and around stations with lots of clutter that really adds to the life of the route. The variety in trees and shrubs is noticeable and really enhances the environment. The loco itself is just really well modeled. I thought the engine sounds and horn were impressive as well, and the brand new Rotom cab car running on the opposite end looks just as good. There's gonna be more on that later on in this video. One thing I didn't love is the lack of playable Amtrak services. We do get some yard services, but any trips to Back Bay Station are only AI, which is a bit disappointing. I'm not too upset about this though, because obviously this isn't the Boston Sprinter route. If you want to run those services, you can always play on that route or use Boston South Station to route hop to that route. But you know, with having yard services and having access to Boston Back Bay on both routes, which I'm pretty sure we do, I'm a little surprised that we at least can't play some of these Amtrak services or MBTA services that use that route and that line to at least get to Boston Back Bay. It would definitely increase the total service count on the Boston commuter route, but maybe they're trying to favor performance here, so I'm not really going to hold it against them. On a more positive note, the signaling on this route is perfect, or it seems near perfect. Brandon, or Cactus Juice, known for working on signaling for many US routes, did have a hand in this one, and from what I saw in the preview stream, looked solid. So moving on to lighting. Now some areas look fantastic, but in stations, inside tunnels, or while driving through them, the lighting outside gets overwhelmingly bright sometimes. It's blinding at times and definitely needs improvement. Hopefully Dovetail can address this in a future release. This has been a problem with a lot of routes, one of them being West Coast Mainline South. One unique detail I really liked is that we get to drive in unexpected track paths. Sometimes you're on the left side and sometimes on the right, even sharing tracks going in the same direction. Matt did bring this up and talk about it for a little bit during the stream. It's a really neat change that adds a lot of variety to the timetable. It's also great to see that Dovetail updated the PIS displays to match reality. You can see this at Boston South Station. I'd love if they could take this update back to the Boston Sprinter route too, and crossing my fingers, definitely not expecting this, but even New York Trenton, as we're still not using the correct PIS displays on those routes. As for the Acela services, it is confirmed that they're not playable on 8th gen consoles due to resource limitations, but this shouldn't be a major issue since they're mainly yard services or brief trips from Boston South to Back Bay. Great attention to detail in the scenery, especially with road signs including real towns, cities, and accurate highway exits. I don't know if this is something that's ever been implemented in a US route before, but I love small details like that. They definitely boost immersion, and I love to see it done on other routes as well. Another fantastic addition is the playable and AI freight services along the route. Honestly, it's about damn time. There was a brief moment where we almost got freight on New York Trenton, but I believe that due to performance issues or performance concerns, they ultimately cut it from the updated timetable. A bit disappointing, but I can understand. Dovetail also updated the MBTA stock to match Train Sim World 5 standards with better sounds, new recordings, and suspension physics. They haven't confirmed if this is for the Amtrak stock coming with this route, but I'm hoping they consider it someday, maybe with the future extension of Boston Sprinter, which is definitely on my wish list of future content. But I'm assuming since there really isn't much to play with for Amtrak on this New scenery route, they probably didn't update it. And finally, I have to give props to the varied stock with mismatching coaches and a mix of the two MBTA lead locos, the HSP46 and F40. The scenery blends well with smooth transitions between grass, ballast, and tracks, similar to how it did on the San Bernardino route. I also really love the doors closing announcement. It's these small touches that honestly just really bring the route to life for me. So I don't really have too much to say on the conductor segment other than just one point, which is passenger behavior. It's honestly just still an issue. They're getting stuck between platforms and clipping into each other. I know that this is an issue that has been addressed in patches before, but it clearly needs more work as this issue is still occurring. And I'm also well aware that this is a core issue, so nothing really to do with this route specifically, or at least that I think at the time. There's also a clear issue with interacting with seated passengers to check tickets, which is pretty awkward for a main feature of Train Sim World 5. This was definitely occurring for me pretty much on all the TSW5 launch routes, so it's a little disappointing to see this still occurring. I hope that gets polished up. So now on to the F40 Loco night service. Now when it comes to nighttime services, the lighting becomes even more problematic. So the F40's headlights are definitely way too bright. It's almost painful to look at. There was one section during the stream where the lights were on and I think the F40 was at Boston South, and it's literally so bright that the pillars holding up the stations and the station itself was almost like white in color. Like you couldn't even see the passengers. They looked like a glowing orb. It was just kind of ridiculous. On the upside though, the F40's horn has improved drastically, which is a huge relief. Hopefully we'll see this reflected in the Boston Sprinter route too, but I'm not gonna hold my breath on that. Only one point here for the CTC cab car night service that they drove. During the cab car night service, they mentioned new sounds in a horn. The horn didn't sound too different for me, honestly, but the alerter sound definitely stood out and sounded great. So a very subtle but nice change. And then we have the freight switching service. I'm honestly really glad that they played through this. So there's definitely a lot of variety on the route. We have geometry car services, we have passenger, we have freight. There's plenty to do with yard switching and mainline runs as well. So variety in the timetable is definitely a major factor in if I deem a route good or even great. They did mention at the end that Dovetail does have no plans to backport these trains to Boston Sprinter, which is unfortunate. Though they mentioned that they would, in quotes, look into it. Honestly, I wouldn't hold my breath on it, but hey, at least we got some acknowledgement at least. All in all, I think the route has some solid highlights, but there are definitely areas that need fixing. Let me know down below what you guys thought of the preview stream for the upcoming US route, MBTA Boston Commuter. That's Boston to Framingham Worcester. And if you guys plan to pick it up when it releases. That's gonna be it for me. Of course, I want to thank you guys so much for clicking and watching. If you found this video entertaining and or informative, give it a huge thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And I'll see you all next time. Take care and happy rail simming, guys.